Most people believe dementia starts when memory fails, but that's not how it begins. In fact, long before memory disappears, the brain starts sending quiet warnings that almost everyone ignores. Small changes in behavior, subtle shifts in thinking, tiny signs that feel harmless at first. And by the time most people recognize them, the damage has already been progressing for years. What you're about to see are the early signals most people miss, and why noticing them early can make all the difference. The human brain has an incredible ability to adapt, repair, and recover. But dementia is one of the few conditions where timing matters more than anything else. Once it progresses beyond certain stages, the damage becomes extremely difficult to reverse. Dementia is not a single disease. It's a general term used to describe a decline in mental ability that interferes with daily life. It affects memory, reasoning, behavior, personality, and decision-making. Most people assume dementia is just a normal part of aging, but that's not true. Aging may slow certain processes, but dementia is caused by physical changes in the brain. The most common form is Alzheimer's disease. It's associated with abnormal protein buildup in the brain, including amyloid plaques and tau tangles. But Alzheimer's is only one type among many. There is also vascular dementia, caused by reduced blood flow to the brain. There is Lewy body dementia, linked to abnormal protein deposits. And there are mixed forms that involve multiple mechanisms at once. What's important to understand is this. Regardless of the type, the progression follows a similar pattern. And once certain thresholds are crossed, recovery becomes extremely difficult. That's why early awareness matters more than diagnosis. Most medical conversations focus on labeling the condition, but labels don't change outcomes. What changes outcomes is recognizing the warning signs early, before the brain loses the ability to compensate. Dementia does not begin suddenly. It develops slowly, often over many years, and the earliest signs are usually subtle and easy to ignore. Let's walk through the stages so you can understand what to look for. The first stage is what doctors still call normal. This is where most people believe everything is fine. But even here, the brain may already be under stress. You might occasionally forget a word. You may walk into a room and forget why you went there. You may feel mentally tired more quickly than before. At this stage, these changes are often dismissed as stress or aging, and sometimes that's true. But this is also the stage where prevention works best. The second stage involves very mild cognitive decline. You may notice small memory lapses more frequently. Finding words becomes harder. Concentration feels weaker. You might misplace items more often, or struggle to recall names that once came easily. This still isn't dementia, but it's a warning phase. The brain is beginning to lose efficiency. Energy production is declining. Communication between neurons is slowing down. The third stage is early cognitive impairment. This is where changes become more noticeable. Short-term memory becomes unreliable. You may read something and forget it minutes later. You may repeat questions or struggle to follow conversations. People at this stage often compensate. They write notes, they set reminders, they create routines to avoid forgetting. This is actually a good sign. It means the brain still has awareness and motivation, and that means intervention is still possible. However, planning becomes harder. Tasks that require multiple steps feel overwhelming. Mental flexibility begins to decline. The fourth stage marks moderate cognitive decline. This is where daily life becomes affected. People may forget recent events entirely. They may struggle with simple calculations. Managing finances or schedules becomes difficult. This is also where brain energy drops significantly. Blood flow decreases. Inflammation increases. Neural communication weakens. At this stage, reversal becomes unlikely, but progression can still be slowed. Behind the scenes, physical degeneration is occurring. Brain cells produce less energy. They transmit signals less efficiently. They become more vulnerable to damage. Before memory loss becomes obvious, the body often sends signals. One of the earliest signs is mental fatigue. You feel tired mentally, even after resting. Concentration requires more effort than it used to. Another sign is reduced motivation. Things you once enjoyed feel exhausting. This is not laziness, it's neurological fatigue. Posture often changes as well. People begin to hunch forward. Movement becomes slower and less coordinated. You may notice reduced arm swing when walking, or a slight tremor when sitting still. Handwriting may become smaller and more cramped. This is called micrographia and is linked to brain changes. Loss of smell is another early indicator. Smell is closely connected to brain function. When it declines, neurological changes are often already underway. Sleep problems are also common. The brain controls sleep cycles and hormone release. When brain function declines, sleep quality suffers. Judgment is often affected next. People may make poor decisions without realizing it. They may struggle to manage time or money. Occasionally forgetting something is normal, but being unable to reason through a problem is not. Speech patterns also change. Sentences may lose structure. Thoughts may jump without clear connection. This is not normal aging. It reflects declining neural coordination. In later stages, memory loss becomes severe. People may forget their address or phone number. They may fail to recognize loved ones. They may dress inappropriately for the weather. They may become disoriented or wander. At this stage, independent living becomes impossible. Eventually, personality fades. The person is physically present but mentally absent. Recognition, awareness, and emotional connection disappear. This is the stage most people associate with dementia, but by then, intervention is extremely limited. The most important lesson is this: dementia does not begin with memory loss. It begins with reduced brain energy and stimulation. One of the biggest contributors is lack of movement. Over 90% of brain stimulation comes from physical motion. Walking, balance, posture, and coordination directly affect brain health. Movement increases blood flow and oxygen delivery to brain tissue. Mental puzzles alone are not enough. The brain is designed to function through movement. Metabolic health also plays a major role. Insulin resistance damages brain cells over time. This is why Alzheimer's is sometimes called type 3 diabetes. Inflammation accelerates degeneration. Poor diet, lack of exercise, and chronic stress worsen this process. The brain also depends heavily on oxygen. Sedentary behavior reduces circulation and starves brain tissue. The good news is this: the brain can respond positively to change, especially early on. When you improve movement, nutrition, sleep, and mental engagement, you give the brain what it needs to recover function. But timing is everything. Once motivation disappears, change becomes extremely difficult. That's why awareness matters more than treatment. If you recognize these signs early, you can act. You can slow the process. You can preserve function. Dementia is not an event. It is a process. And the earlier you intervene, the more control you retain over your future. If this message resonated with you, it means your awareness is already working in your favor. Your brain is not failing you. It's communicating with you. And when you listen early, you give yourself the best possible chance to protect your mind, your independence, and your quality of life. If you found this helpful, subscribe and stay connected, because understanding your brain may be the most important step you ever take toward protecting it.